I'm going this way. You go that way. Hello. Hey, Joe, how long do I have?
I'll give you 35.
All right. We might make it a little less than that. And one of the advantages of not having any slides is that I don't have a time limit either. So I can talk for as short or as long as I want. I'm not going to have to skip any content because there isn't any. It's wonderful. I came to this realization a little while ago. I was sort of stressing about creating a slide deck for a thing, and I was sort of working on how am I going to fit in all of this thing. I just went, you know what, bugger it, I'm going to throw it all out. And I didn't. I talked without any slides at all, and people thought it was wonderful. I thought, okay, well that's easy. I'm going to do that from now on. So here I am. One slide. So if you're the sort of person who likes to photograph slides to keep it for later, there you go. Take your photo. It's up for the next half an hour apparently. Go for it. So a few things I'd like to cover while I'm talking to you, because I don't get an opportunity to speak in Sydney very much. I want to say how wonderful it is to see this group together. There are so many of you here. It was probably 8 years ago, 2008, in the middle of the year, I watched a stream from New York of an IxDA event in which Dave Malouf gave a talk. Now, it doesn't matter if you know Dave or not, but he was about to move to Savannah, and they went, well, let's get Dave to give one more talk before he buggers off to Savannah. And they ran an event, and it was just an event, and 250 people showed up. And I thought, we never get 250 people to show up to a local event. I'm not sure we have 250 people. Eric, who was over there, where have you gone, Eric? There he is, he sat down. Okay. We used to have the IA beers, and there'd be 3 of us, or 10 of us, or 15 of us on a good night at the Indian restaurant in Darlinghurst, and that was it. That was the Sydney design scene. And there were more of us, but we just didn't get together and we didn't know each other. I saw this thing in New York and I thought, bugger it, we need to do better than that. And it was one of the drivers for both UX Book Club and UX Australia. I wanted us to have some way to come together as a group. And to see you here tonight, this is what they had in New York that night, and it pleases me no end to see it here in Sydney rather than having to stream it in the middle of the bloody day from New York. So I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy. And I have nothing to do with this, by the way. Joe said I was former president of the IxDA. That's true. And I never did a bloody thing in Sydney. It was all overseas. That's one thing. Second thing I wanted to say, hey, Tim, can you put your hand up for a minute? Tim is here opening up the studio in Sydney for Frog. You're probably familiar with Frog, I'm sure you all are. And the reason I want to call that out is not to embarrass Tim, but that's a good enough reason, but is to highlight the fact that when a company like Frog chooses to open a studio in a place like Sydney, it says something about the design scene in Sydney. It says something about the quality and the demand for design services in a place like this, not only in Sydney itself, but in the Australian market. It says something about our maturity and about the opportunity. It says something about our economy. It says something about the value of design and that large companies are willing to pay large companies to do really good design work. So, Tim, I don't think you're hiring anymore, Tim. You've done all your hiring, so it's not like I can do a job ad for you, nor do I really want to promote Tim's services overly much because Frog is eventually going to compete with us. So let's temper all of that. But let's not forget that there is real economic value to the work that we do as designers. And a move like this from a company like Frog says a lot about the presence of that value in a market like Australia. So, all right, that's enough about them. Let's talk about why I'm here. So, there's a memorial in Washington, DC in the States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the President of the United States from 1932 to 1938. Might have been a little longer than that. Basically, he was the Depression-era president in the US. And on this memorial is a quote of his that says, and I'm going to paraphrase because I'm terrible at these sorts of things, but the essence of the quote is that the measure of our progress is not how much extra we put in the pockets of those people who already have a lot, i.e. not how well we line the pockets of the rich, but how much we do for the people who really don't have anything at all. That's a sign of progress. That's the sign of how well we're doing as a society, is how much we're helping the people who don't have anything at all. I think it's fair to say if you look around society at the moment, there's a lack of that in our politics, there's a lack of that in our economics, there's a lack of that in our communities, unfortunately, and there is a role for all of us to do that. I'm going to come back to that, but it's important to just lay out the fact that I believe quite firmly that one of the things that a civilised society does is look after the people who really don't have very much. And if we raise the bar for everyone, for all of those people who don't have very much, we're going to do better. I'm not going to make this a talk about doing good and social good and that kind of stuff. I believe in those things, but that's really not what this is about. But I want to throw that out there to begin with. Now, the reason I say that is people go, oh God, he's going to tell me that I need to go and do good in the world. I don't want to do good in the world. I want to get paid and I want to, go out and have fun and do that kind of stuff. And he's going to make me feel bad about myself. Actually, the point is that I'm going to try and make you feel good about yourself, because I think a lot of us actually feel bad about the work that we do, and we shouldn't. Now, Larissa, where's Larissa gone? Hi, Larissa. Larissa picked up on two key things that I want to draw on. The first is the use of her word friendly in the design work that they were doing. They were designing friendly forms. And one other thing in their design principles where they were looking to humanise the work that they were doing. So I want to throw that out there, and I'm going to come back to those two things. I think, and I keep seeing in the work of industrial designers, in the work of architects, in the discussions that we have in the service design community, in the discussions that we have in the interaction design community, with graphic designers, I've seen it in journalism. A real sense of dissatisfaction with the value that we're contributing to society. There is a clear sense, a very, very clear sense, that we're not doing as much as we could. In October last year, I was at the International Design Congress in South Korea. There were 3,000 industrial designers from around the world who came together to talk about industrial design, and they kept moaning about the lack of impact they're having on society. 3 days of it. We should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be helping the poor, we should be helping the sick, we should be. And in order to illustrate that point, they kept showing examples of where they were helping the sick, and where they were helping the poor, and where they were helping the... It's just like, look at yourselves, you're actually doing a bloody good job, stop moaning about it, keep going. In the Service Design Conference in Copenhagen in March this year, a few months later, I get told afterwards, a couple of my staff from Meld Studios went to the conference, and they came back and they said, it was really weird, Steve. There were like hundreds of service designers there, and one of the big topics of conversation was, what's the value of service design? Are we doing enough? Are we spending our time on the right things? And there was this real sense of, are we wasting our time? Do we have any purpose? What's our value to this world? And I thought, that's interesting. That's exactly what the industrial designers were saying a few months ago. And then I got invited to this series of lunches with architects in New South Wales. The Architects Registrar's Board. The registrar in New South Wales is a guy by the name of Tim Horton, who's a wonderful guy, just ran the Architect Festival, Sydney Architecture Festival, which was really interesting. Tim's a great guy. He was the former South Australian Commissioner, the Integrated Design Commissioner for South Australia, which we don't have in New South Wales, and we should. They don't have one anymore anyway, but he did a really good job. He invited me to this lunch where a bunch of architects from academia and business and public policy got together, and you know the topic of conversation around lunch? Oh, what's the value of architecture? What are we doing today? We're just like making buildings. I don't know. Is that all we can do? Is that our value in this world? Look at what's going on in society. People are poor, people are sick. Okay. And in order to illustrate their point, they talk about the work of some architect in Chile who's building projects, like housing projects for the poor, and they're talking about a guy Cameron Sinclair, who put together a project in Africa to really quickly build up schools and hospitals and housing in war-torn places It's just like, well, again, these are good examples. Where is this angst coming from? And I think we are disconnected from the people that we designed for. I think that's part of our problem. We design today at scale. We design not for a couple of people, we design for tens of thousands, we design for millions. Larissa, how many customers does CommBank have? 5 million, 8 million retail customers? There or thereabouts. It's probably 60-70% of Australian households have one or more accounts with CommBank. Thereabouts, maybe. I'm going to boast on your behalf. 60% of Australian households, people. 60%. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between 5 and 8 million people. 5 and 8 million people. It's very, very hard to connect with all of them. Okay. All right. I'm going to say millions and be done with it. Millions of people. When an architect designs a building, there might be 20,000 people who go into a large-scale building project, sometimes a lot more than that. When an industrial designer designs a product that goes into manufacture and gets released out into the world, they never see the people who use it. They never do. Larissa and her team have to go through quite a bit of effort to actually connect with the people who do our work. And the thing is, if we walk away from our design, if we leave it to the engineers, if we leave it to the business people, I have to tell you they don't care. They don't actually care about people. There was a study recently that was released that said large portions of the business world are sociopaths. And it's not the, 1 to 3% of the population who are sociopaths. It's disproportionate. And a sociopath is someone who just doesn't care about other people. They just don't care. And you can't make them care. They lack the empathy to do it. They lack the bit that says, I give a shit. I don't care about you. I care about something else. And that something else is me. I care about me, or I care about shiny technology. So what we end up with, in the absence of people like us, is a system where we have progress for the sake of progress, where we do things because we can, where we improve things because it can be improved. There's no humanity to that. There's none, because the people responsible don't have any. It's funny, but it's true. They don't have any humanity. They're interested just in the technology because they can. What we end up with is applications that solve non-existent problems. We end up with technology in search of a problem. We end up with technologies that cause problems. One of the wonderful things, so one of the great technologies that falls into this bucket for me at the moment is self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles. Do you know what problem that solves? Can anyone tell me what problem that solves?
Safety.
For who?
Everyone.
You know what would be safer? Get out of the car. Take the car off the road. You're solving a problem that doesn't have to exist with another problem that is almost as bad. If you look at the amount of space taken up in your average city by roads, it's like 40%. 40% of a city like Sydney is dedicated to roads and places where cars can park. The average car, the average family car, sits still, sits parked 90% of the time. 90%. 90% of the time, the average family car sits parked, and it takes up space. It has to. Car's got to sit somewhere, right? It sits in a driveway, it sits somewhere, but it's all real estate that's not parkland, that's not farmland, that's not a watercourse. We reclaim land so that we can what? Tar it over and stick a car, still doing nothing. The value of someone like you is that you care. You go out into the world and you talk to people. You go out into the world and you connect with people. You go out into the world and you sit down with someone and you watch them in their workplace and you watch them in their home and you understand what they care about and you understand what drives them and what motivates them and where their problems are and what they care about it, and you work with an organisation to deliver something that actually matters. And it doesn't have to be solving poverty, and it doesn't have to be creating world peace. It can be removing a frustration that says, I don't know which fucking drawer I can open on my dishwasher, but one of them is running right now. I have a hot water tap at home. It's one of these sort of wonderful first world problems where I have a hot water tap at home and a filtered water tap that does chilled water. One does boiling water, one does chilled water. The boiling water tap, the chilled water tap works perfectly. Turn the thing, chilled filtered water comes out of this tap. My kids can use it, it's wonderful. I have 4 children. Youngest are 7, I have twin 7-year-old girls. They can use this tap and get filtered water, chilled, in a glass. It's wonderful. The thing next to it dispenses boiling water. And when I say boiling water, I don't mean largely hot water, I mean boiling water. You know, like bubbling, boiling point, 100-degree water. Except that it does it at random times. You'll be sitting there watching TV 4 hours after someone sort of tried to make a cup of tea, and hot water will come out. Fortunately, the odds of someone actually being anywhere near it and scalding themselves, because you would get second-degree burns from boiling water coming out of a random tap somehow, is quite low. And everyone knows that it's going to do it, so we all steer clear of it, which also means we steer clear of the filtered water, by the way, because they're right next to each other. We go out and we look at what people care about. We go out and we help people understand what it is that we should be doing. We help in large ways and small, an organisation like CommBank and others like Telstra understand what it is that motivates people, where their problems are, and what it is that they can do to help that person. Most organisations spend most of their time getting better and better at the wrong things. Isn't that wonderful? Most organisations spend most of their time getting better at the wrong things. And it saves them a few bucks. You know, it's all part of a productivity drive. It's all great. But the people on the receiving end of it, the customer, the staff member, none of them care. Doesn't make anyone any happier. Doesn't make them more likely to refer you to somebody else. It's not the sort of thing that makes someone go, oh, you should really use that company. They did this thing for me that was so good, I would tell everyone about it. I'm going to keep telling people about it because that thing was awesome. Most of what organisations do bears no resemblance to that. Because most of the things that organisations do are designed by sociopaths. I honestly wish I was joking about that one. I really do. The value of design, and one of the key values of design, I come back to what Larissa said earlier, is this notion of it being a humanising force. Left to its own device, technology and technologists will make progress for the hell of it. Because they can, without any clear sense of value, without any clear sense of purpose. Society is full of these things. They are dangerous, they are counterproductive, they alienate us, they isolate us, they make us feel bad about ourselves, they get in our way, they frustrate us. And if you really want to think about what we can do as designers and what design can do as a philosophy and as a culture, it can turn that dial in a different direction. We can change it so that people actually feel welcome when they use the system. They feel like the system has been designed for them. They feel like they should be using it and they deserve to be using it. I'm giving a talk in a couple of weeks, and one of the key themes is around hospitality. And I love that notion that we design our systems and we design our technologies and our services and the things that we put out into the world to be hospitable. And not just in the sense that people can use them, but that there is a genuine desire to welcome people into it as though they were right there in front of us. As though they were standing right there and you say, hey, come on in. I've made this thing for you. Come and check it out. I think you'll love it. I don't think we bring enough of that into the work that we do at the moment. I think we have an enormous opportunity to bring that into every single piece of work that we do. Whether it's a form, whether it's a drop-down menu, whether it's an entire system. That's the sort of thinking that was missing from the recent review of our taxation system. It's the thing that's missing from a review of our immigration policy, like at a big scale. There's no humanity in those things. But this is a real opportunity for us to bring a sense of welcome and a sense of genuine warmth into everything that we do. So that when someone uses it, when someone sits there and opens up their laptop, when they sit there and they walk into a bank branch, when they sit there and they call their insurance company and say, crap, I've just had a car crash. The person on the other end of that phone, or the person across the counter, or the system on the end of that computer doesn't feel like a robot. It feels like a person. And more importantly, it feels like a person who cares. And that, I think, is the value of design. And I think it's a real job of ours, in every little thing that we do, that we can bring that into the work and bring that out into the world. That's it from me. $25.
Questions. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve. That was
Hi.
really great talk. I'm interested to know if you use any, or do you apply any ethical frameworks? Because you hear a lot about things like dark UX patterns, or like Tristan Harris, he wrote a great article about how like there are addictive elements of UX which keep us coming back and not necessarily beneficial for the great humanity. And also, like, if you look at sustainable designers and the way they apply architecture, they're really thinking about, society, environment, and business viability. So, do you apply them personally in your own work, some kind of ethical framework in UX?
Yes, and imposing my ethical framework on the work that I do for others, and by others I mean my clients and customers, is a dangerous business. So yes, I do. But as you may have heard from what I'm saying, I'm a socialist. And the people that I work for aren't necessarily socialists, right? And when I say socialist, I'm like little s, not capital S, and I'm not going to wave flags and wear red and stuff. I'm talking about a general belief that as a society we should be trying to lift everybody up, not lift an individual up. But that's an ideological framework that I bring. So I look for the opportunities in my work to look for value and some kind of benefit as broadly as I can, all the time. It's an ethical choice. It's dangerous to impose that or even to advocate for it necessarily. The flip side of that comment, though, is that we all have an ethical framework and we can't leave it at the door. So you do as well, whether you know it or not, whether you admit to it or not. We all bring an ethical framework or a moral framework. We bring our Christian or our Judeo or our Muslim background into the workplace. We bring a set of cultural beliefs and religious beliefs into the choices that we make, and we try, but ultimately we fail to leave them behind. So we all do, whether we are explicit about it or not, and it's a dangerous business. There's a notion that we can be objective about our work. That's bullshit. We just can't be. We can't be. Ethics falls into that bucket, right? That broad bucket of, can I be objective about the work that I'm doing? And the answer is no. I firmly believe as designers we shouldn't try to be either. So I don't believe that I should leave my beliefs and my passions and my, whatever at the door. I should absolutely I should have an opinion about these things. I should advocate strongly for that opinion. One of the most important things that I can do is advocate for the people that I've been designing for. So the customer and the user, the staff member, whoever they are, that's one of the most important things that I can do. I can advocate for them as though they were in the room. And ultimately, as I sort of pointed out before, the value of that design should be as though they were right there. Now, the ethics part of it is part of it, but I don't think that's all of it either. But it really is, it's a messy question as soon as you say, well, what right do I have? Hi, Katja.
Hi, Steve. I would like to revisit this notion of sociopaths.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to know how to spot them, Katja? Stripy clothes? No.
yeah, I don't think I'm a sociopath, but no, not at all.
No. I don't care.
So a lot of organisations are using design. So IBM's, Combank's, big organisations are using design thinking, putting the tools of design into the hand of what, from listening to this, sounds like a bunch of amateur sociopaths.
Yeah.
What sort of...
I wouldn't tell them that, but okay. Yep. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. So we're putting the tools of design into the hands of people who are not necessarily skilled, capable, and going, off you go, empathise, stand in the shoes. Where does the value of design show up in this sort of democratisation of the work? Do we need beer?
Funny you should say that.
I've spent the last few days interviewing other people, and I've been doing these 45-minute interviews in which I've asked 2 questions, and I ask them right at the beginning, and then for the next 44 minutes they get to talk. And this is one of those questions. This is one of those types of questions where it's going to be a long answer. And I'm fine with that. So I'm just fair warning, okay? No, it's fair warning. No, you've asked it now and I'm going to answer it. So there's a few different parts of that. One, I think putting in place a system where an external audience who is ultimately going to have to wear the output of whatever it is that you're doing, and bringing them into the room and making people aware of what they care about and aware of what they want and aware of their frustrations and the rest of it is a step in the right direction. It won't connect in here with everybody because not everybody can connect in here with other people. That's a downside. But as a group of people, so one of the things about me not caring about you is that, okay, so if someone else puts forward an argument that says, well, we should do it this way because, I don't care. Oh, that's fine. I don't care. I don't care one way or the other. So if you want to go down that path, that's fine. So at least if we're going to an active effort to bring that voice into the room, then that's a good thing. It speaks to the power, though, of storytelling and the importance of storytelling. I haven't mentioned that yet, but I think it's a really critical point. One of the ways in which we resonate with other people as strongly as we can is by being better and better at telling stories, bringing the stories of other people to life. I had the opportunity to go to the Austin Centre for Design. People familiar with John Kolko's school in Austin? If not, you should be. But the Austin Centre for Design was doing their student presentations, and there were 8 students doing research reports. And I use the word reports advisedly. Most of them gave reports. They had spent a day with a person who was either poor, on drugs, a teenager, so, all people with problems. I'm joking. The point was that they were asked to bring that person's story back and present a report. And 7 out of the 8 people gave very good reports. Actually, 6 out of the 8 gave very good reports. One of them gave a report that was condescending and rude, which I didn't like. But one person, a woman by the name of Tamara Watkins, told a story. And she told a very, very compelling story about this guy who is a grandfather with 8 dependents, kids and grandkids, who spends his entire week on a very tight schedule going to food banks and getting food stamps and collecting basically free food or very, very cheap food for his extended family. That's his job. She told that story. It's 3 years ago. I still remember it. That's the power of that empathy, and that's the way in which we can connect with anyone. And we will do a better job ultimately designing for someone when that kind of strong storytelling and strong connection is brought into the room. They won't care as much, but they'll care more than they did otherwise. And we at least give them the tools to work through it, whether they care or not. And that's something as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I say one more thing?
You can say one more thing, yes.
You do amazing work. Every last one of you. Whether you understand that and appreciate it or not, you do amazingly good things for the world around us. Keep doing it. It's hard some days. Keep doing it. Get better at it. We all need it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
We've got it with